Hi, I'm Gur the Alien Goldfish. As someone who has been doing videos on Blood on the Dance Floor since before it became a huge thing, I am both delighted and irritated that mainstream attention has been focused on Dahvie Vanity. Delighted because it's about goddamn time, and irritated because before the initial article that came out on Dahvie ever came out, the people who have been following the story the longest were basically ignored. Our concerns were snubbed, and Dahvie was free to sexually assault women for years. I find this especially unacceptable, and I wish we were listened to sooner, but alas, nobody cared back in 2010. I sound bitter about this, because I am, but if people had listened to us earlier, we could have saved a lot more people, and Dahvie would not be free to assault people as he is now. Anyway, fast forward to 10 years, and here we are. Chris Hansen is now speaking about it, and it's become a huge thing once again. And I'm coming out of retirement basically to recount the shit I know about Dahvie and my personal experiences with the sleaze. A problem I initially had with Blood on the Dance Floor is the music. It's bad, true, but the lyrics were inappropriate for the demographic he was trying to market to. He marketed to teenagers and kids who didn't quite fit in. So you can imagine that lyrics describing graphic sex acts, murder, and even sexual assault wouldn't be something you would want to market to kids, right? And one could argue that they were never meant to be marketed to children, but I disagree. He knew exactly what he was doing. Otherwise, he wouldn't have used things like Hello Kitty or Sailor Moon or the bright colors and pretty pictures in his merch. He wouldn't dress up in bold colors and costumes if he was not targeting a young demographic, and there's nothing inherently wrong with targeting a young demographic. But to circle back to my first point, you want your music to fit the audience. If you look at the music generally being sold to teens, you wouldn't really see lyrics like, and I quote, Hello blasting through your stereo, Kitty, let me slip between your thighs. Coming straight from Tokyo, my six will leave you satisfied. Show me how you're such a hoe. Bitch, I'll make you fucking cry. Get down on your knees and blow. You're such a fucking cutie pie. Now, if you excuse me, I'm gonna have to go wash my mouth out. You wouldn't find stuff like that. You just wouldn't. And that's just a small, select snippet of the songs Dahvie's written. Later on, he also makes threats to shoot his critics, and he makes many a hater anthem on his album Bad Blood, such as Crucified by Our Lives, where he compares his struggles of being called out for being a sexual pervert to that of Jesus Christ, and my personal fucking favorite, I Refuse to Sink, where he just lays it all out and tells us just how much he doesn't give a fuck. I like it because he drags Jay into the song, and it's just awful. I live for the moments when Dahvie acts like he doesn't care when we all know that he cares very much. It's almost sad and I almost feel sorry for him, but then I remember he's the literal worst and I hate him. Speaking of Jay, I never really spoke about him much because he was never really on my radar. Granted, he was very much a part of the group and was in the group for quite some time. Even though I still think it's scummy that Jay not only participated in the bullying of an 11-year-old child, but hasn't even offered them an apology. However, after Jay left the group, I learned that Jay was at one point diagnosed with HIV and was under the financial control of Dahvie. Now, I don't need to tell you that HIV is serious business and needs to be treated as soon as possible. So you would think that Dahvie, being a compassionate, caring, and kind individual, would take a break from touring to allow his partner, his friend, his comrade, to get the treatment he needs. Just kidding. Dahvie didn't give a fuck. Dahvie, in his infinite wisdom, forced Jay to tour with him without meds or medical treatment. By the time Jay was done with the tour, he was very sick. Thankfully, Jay has received medical treatment since then, and his HIV status is undetectable. Another delightful thing is that when Dahvie found out that he was pre-diabetic, meaning that he was on the verge of developing diabetes, he canceled tours. Listen, I know how shitty diabetes is, but if you're going to cancel tours for medical reasons, you should probably extend that courtesy to other people whose lives depend on getting treatment as soon as fucking possible. Jay was Dahvie's partner. Their entire act was centered around them both. Not caring for his bandmates just shows how little Dahvie thinks of other people. He controls them financially and abandons them in the middle of nowhere if they don't obey him, or if they stand up to him. And he's done this to several people already. He's kicked people off tour for not letting him do as he pleases, like with the band New Year's Day. when Ash Costello tried to stop a teenager from going with him alone, and she told him off, Dahvie became furious with her and kicked her off the tour. This came after a series of events which he would put his hands on her and even grabbed and touched her after she told him that she did not want to be grabbed or touched. And she wanted him to respect her personal boundaries, which is not an unreasonable thing to ask for. Even if you're on tour, there is still a professional standard in which you need to uphold. You cannot fucking touch people without their permission, and you sure as fuck should not be having sex with underage fans. You're a professional, act like one. After Miss Costello came out with her story after it was announced that she and her band would not be completing their tour with Blood on the Dance Floor, Blood on the Dance Floor immediately went on the offensive, alleging that Ash lied for fame, which is just the poor man's, "She called me out on my shitty behavior, so I have to make shit up to cover my ass." His fans attacked Ash and her band online, prompting her to write a response to back up her allegations against him. Yeah, she had to fucking defend herself against his fans because Dahvie likes to direct his fan base to attack people who don't like him or who call him out on his behavior. Way before the tour with NYD, a girl named Jessie Slaughter, and you probably fucking know this story already, has accused Dahvie Vanity of sexually assaulting her. Now, Jessie was already in deep with 4chan because you challenge 4chan, you get what you ask for. Having Dahvie Vanity attacking her with his fan base and writing a song about her, mocking her emotional distress and her father, which prompted the "you done goofed" meme, was not helping her situation. So in order to make it all stop, she retracted her statement. The poor kid's life was fucking ruined because of this. And at the time, nobody really thought much of it because as far as we were concerned, she was just an annoying kid on the internet who needed to go away. Nobody ever thought that it would actually be true until it started coming out that Dahvie is in fact an awful person. So when I started making videos detailing the accusations and reacting to them, I got a lot of Blood on the Dance Floor fans in my comments saying, "These allegations are false. Jessie Slaughter lied." Even though I wasn't talking about this Jessie Slaughter situation specifically. This is a pretty big deal because as far as they know, Jessie was the only one who made allegations, meaning people got the picture about what would happen if they spoke out, and their lives would be ruined too. So, rolling into 2018 and 2020, Dahvie isn't as powerful or as popular as he used to be. You see, the downside of marketing to young teenagers is that eventually they grow up and listen to better music. And trends change, so the colorful Hello Kitty scene shit pretty much died out. Now he's trying to tap into the weeb market and calling himself Kawaii Monster, which, dude, you're in your late fucking 30s and the one thing people know you by isn't your music. At this point, it's time to hang up the wigs and go away. Anyway, when you have to steal lyrics and designs, you know you weren't even that good anyway. Yes, that's right. Dahvie Vanity rips off other artists to create his music, lyrics, and even his merchandise. One could argue that some of the designs for his older shirts were caricatures and therefore not in violation of any copyright. I'm not a lawyer, so I wouldn't mind some clarity on the matter. But stealing lyrics and other artists' designs is, in fact, illegal. Now, I can't find screenshots of the original argument he had with OTEP, but if someone can find it, please let me know. Anyway, basically, OTEP, a heavy metal artist, called Dahvie out on Twitter for stealing her lyrics to her song Rise, Rebel, Resist, and putting them in his song Looking Hot, Fabulous. He also ripped off Skillet, Depeche Mode, and various other artists. Like, it's okay to borrow a line or two from a song, but only if you don't plan on actually stealing whole chunks of the song and putting them in yours without altering or editing in any way. There's a difference between sampling and plagiarism. So people bought his merch and they didn't realize or care that he was stealing art. But what started destroying him was the fact that if you bought any merch from him, it was unlikely that you would ever get it. Dahvie is a control freak. He controls pretty much everything. So his merch team would often run out of things and have to report him to ask to order more things, like more t-shirts, more CDs, more shit like that. Shipments would be late or they would never arrive, or they would arrive years later or be covered in cat hair, which happened to one fan and she had a severe allergic reaction to the cat hair. Instead of apologizing and trying to correct the situation, Dahvie and his then fiancée, Fallon Vendetta, would block anyone who complained. Now, Fallon is her own version of scumbag, but that's for another video. Anyway, Dahvie would withhold pay or not pay his employees at all, and the one woman who handled his merch had to beg him to pay her because she was starving and she had medical bills to pay. This whole thing was to have financial control over his employees so they wouldn't leave him, and it was dirty as hell. Earlier on in his music career, he would preach about plur, which is an old raver's term for peace, love, unity, and respect. But his actions would kind of go against that. He would bully women, attack people online and offline, and would respond to criticism with insults and death threats. Like what happened with me and other YouTubers and a band called All Time Low. So, winding this down, if you're going to ask the stupid question, why didn't you say anything sooner to these victims? Well, here's your answer. It's important to remember that the reason people don't talk about their experiences is because the people who hurt them had power over them. Dahvie had access to social media, fans, and money, and for that, he had more power over his victims. The less Dahvie Vanity has, the less people are afraid of him. It's also extremely difficult to arrest touring musicians because of the crimes are often out of the jurisdiction of the police by the time they manage to get around to investigating it. Anyway, that's most of my account of what I learned about Dahvie Vanity over the years. I've been doing this for a long time, but at least I'm now seeing shit happening and maybe eventually we'll get results. If you liked my video, hit like and subscribe, show your friends, and consider becoming a patron so that I may feed my children. Thank you and have a fish-tastic day.